Whoever's 945-067, you're not muted, just so you know.
Yeah, it's Bill Perret. I think that's probably me.
Gotcha, Bill. Thank you.
Russ, presumably we haven't started because there's no audio coming through.
Yeah, everybody's muted right now. As soon as they'll unmute in a second.
Thank you.
Unmute
Yeah,
your individual
okay.
voice. You're good to go.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is, I don't even know what date it is, February 12th? 12th. February 12th. This is the Charter Revision Commission Group 2 meeting. And it is 1 p.m. and we are recording. And we have a number of interviews today. Actually, I'm sorry, this is your meeting.
No, I don't care. Go ahead.
Number of interviews today. And the first is Ann Kelly Lenz, the CFO for the town. Welcome, Ann. Good to have you. Oh, I have to call roll. Thank you. See, I knew I had to pass it over to you. Let's do roll call. First, Russ Kimes III.
Present.
Jennifer Hall.
Present.
Bill Perret.
Present.
He's Bill calling in on Zoom, and Kathleen Corbett. Okay, now I can properly welcome you. Thank you so much. As you know, we're going through the charter, and how long have you been the CFO with us now?
4 years.
4 years.
I was not here for the last one.
Okay.
so
Have you
I did pull it
gone through charter revision before?
I have not.
Previous?
No,
Okay.
not in any of the towns.
So as you know, we are going through article by article of the charter, and you're free to talk on any item that you might want to. We're obviously focusing on Article 5, which addresses the Board of Finance. It also addresses the Audit Committee, financial procedures, et cetera. And so we'll be actually kind of going through, you're free to talk about any points, but we'll go through each item and get your thoughts and comments.
Okay.
Do you have any opening?
I mean, I'll give you some of Jennifer, I'm meeting for the first time. So some of my background, I'm with the town for years. I've been in municipalities for over 20 years. This is my 4th town. I've had a city plus 3 towns that I've worked in. And I've done different positions: treasurer, tax collector, deputy finance director, finance director. So I have a vast array of the finance side of experience.
Which is really great, especially having seen other towns and
Yeah.
systems and setup. So that's really
Yeah.
wonderful.
And I did work for a board of ed along with the town at the same time.
What town was that?
Wilton, I was the CFO for both.
For both.
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, any other questions before digging in? Do you have any questions for us before we?
No, I not knowing what to expect. I was gonna go as you go
You
along.
didn't warn her?
Well,
I warned her.
well, no, you did, but as we go along, I don't want to jump out if there's something coming in order that you go through. I'll just go through it with you.
Well, just in general, I'm sorry. Just Jennifer, just in general, obviously you've read through section 5, right? And you work within section 5 quite a bit. Are there any areas that you felt after going through it that you would want us to focus on to improve, refine, eliminate? I see some Post-it notes there, or
They were just, yeah, some of my notes on how things are done. I was just figuring out what for me, just to look through it, things I
Okay.
was noticing that are state statute, but they're in here as well. So that was just more than my notes. I would say, a couple of things I probably would bring up in terms of how it affects our finance and how it adjusts. One would be the audit committee. In terms of, I'm not sure how many other towns have it. There's not a lot. This is my first experience with dealing with an audit committee on that. We have some great people on the audit committee. It does restrict the timeline for us a lot from, in terms of how quick the audit has to get done. So in the current environment within the state, there are a lot of towns that are not getting their audits filed in time. And the state has now come up with a new tier system,
I'm
a
sorry.
new tiered system.
Okay.
So if you do not file what they say file in time by December 31st, the state can put you on these tiered systems. They can put you into retraining programs. Other towns, surrounding towns have CFOs and other positions going into retraining. My concern is that if we become so restrictive in timelines with our audit that we may not attain it. There's other audit companies out there that if we, we have to have a certain deadline, so we miss possibly 6+ weeks than most other towns in the state have, 6 to 8 weeks to additional time to file the audit. So with different issues with, I'm seeing a lot of staffing problems within finance departments, not getting the staff. Audit companies having problems with their level of staff, so getting the work done. We have it's a lot of pressure on us. So I don't know if there's a way to even try to eliminate some of that pressure.
I don't,
That,
help me if I.
Is it an ordinance
I don't
or is-
see that.
it's
as a
in
time.
the charter and the timelines of everything filed, because it's got to get to the audit committee first before it goes to the town council from their process. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, big picture is, should it really be as a charter versus an ordinance or in a code? So it could be changed if there's issues that come up in a couple of years down the road, that we have some issues on timelines that we can't change anything because it's in a charter.
I think she's referring, Kathleen, to the fact that the audit committee and the town council has to agree it. So she has. Okay, this is kind of falls into my daily work as well.
Oh, okay.
what are some of the charter?
So 5-29 talks about powers and duties, which
I guess my
references
overall
this.
one say when it
And
concerns the charter
5-26.
is having the audit committee under the charter versus having that out of the charter. And having it as an ordinance or a code or some other method.
Oh, well, the audit committee is an ordinance, has an ordinance, it's GAMA's.
As well, yeah, that 62 on that one.
Yeah.
But
There's nothing in the charter about the audit committee's timeline.
Yeah, it defines your,
I guess really,
Was there a
yeah,
section you were looking at in particular that provoked them?
Has to approve the,
So therefore she has to wait for a town council meeting. The town council has to approve the audit
correct.
before it can be
Because
filed.
the audit comes under the
So
town
that's the
council.
scheduling. They meet once a month. So there you could have the 4-week window, if you will.
but
So
is that ordinance or is
No,
that?
That's per charter for the town council, I
For
believe.
their,
For the town
but that's
council.
the town council's regular cadences that is defined in the charter. And that's the
Right, and
problem
it
is the
flows
fact that.
into with the audit committee that I have to get it done a certain period of time before it gets to the town council side. And I'm like wondering if keeping that in the.
Sorry for not raising my hand because I don't know how to do that, but irrespective of whether it's in the charter or an ordinance, I just want to make sure I understand. And what you're saying is that the financials, the year end is in the summertime, July, right? June, June year end. So
June
but
30th.
it has to get to the town council. Yeah, June 30th. It has to get to the town council by December, correct?
Correct. So in
Yes,
terms of
yes,
that,
okay.
so
So-
Bill, let me just explain the timeline on that. So we end the year at June 30th. Board of Ed does not close its books for 60 days by state statute. So the earliest we can start closing our final books is the beginning of September. We then have to close everything up, roll all the books over, turn it over to the audit company that it needs 4 to 6 weeks to get their part done, to get it back to us, to then get it disseminated to the committees and everyone else, to get in front of the town council by the second week of December. So that has been, I just know from my 4 years here, the amount of time and hours my staff has worked after and on weekends to make sure that happens. So if you've any change in that, meaning you've staffing issues, your audit company has staffing issues, that's a lot of pressure that for 4 years for me that I've been under in trying to get that done. And this is, as I said, my first experience.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Right, so let's just be sure it's external audit.
External
not-
audit.
Not internal audit.
No, that's a different one.
So how much, by taking the audit, you're suggesting, by taking the audit committee out of the charter, how would that help alleviate your timeline?
Is there a way we can change things? Maybe we don't have so many people on the committee. Instead of 5, maybe we have 3, you know, something like that. Or I'm trying to think of some other things. The terms
Actually, originally started, the ordinance originally, when it was first created, was 3.
was 3 and it went
And
to
then
5.
we added to 5 just because it's hard to get everybody together and so forth. So by having 5 and then having only 3 people able to
Show
meet,
up.
you've got your forum and so it seemed to be more beneficial to have 5 than 3, just to keep
Keep it going
mindful
on
of
it.
the
Yeah.
timeline.
I'm just concerned in terms of future staffing down the road if we don't have fully staffed or, you know, how much pressure that's going to put on the town. And I would hate the town to ever get into a tier 1, tier 2 because we're not filing on town. There's surrounding towns that haven't filed for 2-3 years on time.
Our town didn't file on time, many years.
Oh, no, we filed, my first year
No,
we
no,
didn't,
well before you,
but we
well before.
have been because, you know, we've made it a point to make sure we put the hours in to do it, but I'm just concerned of the pressure on that. So I don't know, it's more, I guess, possibly changing it from a town council standpoint and having to get that report in front of them. Maybe that's the side of it versus.
That I think is statute, right? In terms
No,
of
I've
getting-
never filed it in front of any other board in any other town. Once the audit was done and completed and the auditors and the finance department agreed, it got filed. It's not required.
So you don't have, you didn't have to report it to the town council?
No.
Was that in some towns that didn't have a town council?
Whatever their governing body was, it didn't matter, like in terms of it. Yeah, it's not, because I confirmed it with another auditing firm. Do I need to do it? Because a particular town was not doing it. And I said, do we need to? And they're like, it's not required. It's the state. It just has to be filed by the state. So it's a choice by the town to do that. So that's just my one comment on that.
Okay, so those are basically about the external audit timeline.
Yes.
Well, it's also your timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and trying to get everything
Right.
done.
But in the charter, we discuss more of an internal audit team as well.
Okay, I guess, Ann, correct me if I'm wrong, there's 2 issues. One, the audit committee is an added step in the
Step.
process.
Yes.
In terms of the fight between, you know, you getting started and filing with the state. So is the town council.
Yes.
Okay, so you have those 2 items in terms of toll gates you have to go through before you get to the actual filing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, maybe it is, like I said, addressing it with the town council side of taking that pressure off of making sure it's filed on time and correct.
Have you ever addressed that with the town council?
No, never, because it was in the charter, there really wasn't a point at that point.
But was there an unwillingness to do like a special meeting to get it done sooner or to adjust to the needs that you have?
No, it's more that we have to get it done, say, pretty much have to have a draft by the beginning of November, middle of November. And that's, you know, when I'm on a board for Connecticut GFOA, my counterparts, when I'm putting my draft together, are not even there yet.
Right.
So those towns, and that's throughout the state, there's 13 of us on this board. And they're like, you have your draft already. I'm like, I don't have a choice. I have to get this done by this time.
So within the charter itself, the only thing that talks about timing is that it says it'll prepare an annual report within 60 days after filing
Yeah.
the financial statements to OPM. Other than that, it's pretty blank on actual timing within the charter itself. In the ordinance, it talks about the annual audit period, but doesn't define what that is. It just says.
Yeah, and that's statute, that's set by
And
statute.
our focus obviously is just the charter side.
So I guess the main one then I probably really should be addressing this with is with town council side of it.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, this is a good conversation.
Because we covered the town council too.
And I'm not saying like in the next year or two, things could be fine, but if there's changeover in things, a change in an auditing company, changing over in staff, that pressure is going to put on an added pressure that right now I'm seeing surrounding towns not getting their audits filed in time. That's my long term.
When you do present to the audit committee and to the town council, your drafts, I mean, is it just one meeting or is there back and forth where you have to come back and report?
With the audit committee, we've gotten to the point where we have certain meetings and then we have to do a point person because we need more meetings within a 2-week span of different things. So as we can't have full meetings, so we'll have a point person to handle it. We have to do that back and forth and that has to be turned around pretty quick so that we can give them time to read the book to then get it in front of the town council in advance so they have a chance to read it as well. So really you're talking the beginning of December or so.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a way you do something in town council's language to put a requirement on them that they have to review it by X period, but I don't know how much this varies.
It's really having to get in front of them.
Right.
It's, with the Board of Finance, we did it in January, it's not required by the state.
Yeah.
To be
No, I'm
signed
thinking
off
like
on. That's all.
language in the town council that says they shall review audit on by December, whatever, just whatever window works. I don't know.
That's just, I'm just thinking down the road because what I'm seeing in
Well, it
other.
seems to me, sorry to interrupt. It's, there's really a couple of different ways of looking at this. The first question I have is, when does the Board of Ed have to file their stuff?
The Board of Ed has to file their report by the end of September.
By the end of September, and they get
I'm
that
sorry,
done.
I'm sorry.
Because their
I'm sorry,
budget
let me
is
take that back. The end of August, they have to send theirs by the end of August.
Yeah. So, I mean, one issue just might be, and, it's not really our job as a commission, but it sounds to me, if you can't get the work done in 6 months, that maybe it's a staffing level in the department. And, I'm happy to work with Ann on that, just take a look at that. But I do understand what you're saying, but, waiting longer than 6 months to get an audit, for the town council to see the audited financial statements, I mean, it may not be required, but it's probably not good for a town like New Canaan to be that long. But I understand your point. But I think it sounds to me like it's a staffing issue.
So it's not so much staffing, Bill, it's because of this, what I call 60-day look back in terms of what the Board of Ed does and what we have to do. We have to wait 60 days for all invoices to be paid. So I can't close the books any sooner.
Yeah,
so
no.
we're at the end of August. The Board of Ed doesn't have balance sheets like we do. The Board of Ed doesn't capitalize assets. We could have up to $40 million worth of assets. So that all can't be started until September. So really the main bulk of the audit is starting in September. And then we have to turn that over within 2-3 weeks to the audit, to the company itself, who then have to do their testing, and that takes 4 to 6 weeks. So in corporate, which I was in hedge fund, we would have our audit done within a week because it's very simple. But because of the GASB rules and the different things that municipalities have to go through, that's why there's that 6 months, if you want to call it, length of time to get it done. Because of the different timelines.
I understand your point. One thing to look at also is how much preliminary work the audit firm is doing. But I understand your point. We don't need to belabor it. It's a challenge that you have.
And it's just trying to ward off what could happen down the road with staffing levels, audit company levels. And if we have an additional pressure that most other towns are, this town could be in a position of not being able to get their audits done on time, not being able to, there's some towns that, they haven't even filed their 24 and they're still trying to file their 25s and they're in our county. So I'm thinking long
I mean,
term.
no, I understand what you're saying, and I trust what you're saying is correct. I mean, that's just incredible. So I'll just stop right there. But
Yeah, no,
but
that's what
putting
I'm
that
concerned
aside,
about is the
we-
future.
Yeah,
So you've identified a
yeah, no.
risk.
Yes,
But,
a risk.
my
That's-
experience has been, my experience was, when I was chairman of the audit committee, that we did file the report late because we couldn't get it done. We ultimately got it to the point where it's going in November. But my point in raising that is I don't recall there ever being, a rule we broke. We had a file that it was going to be late, but I don't feel like anybody, town council or anybody, felt like, oh my God, the world's going to come to an end. We got to make sure we comply. So I understand good heads up, but I'm not sure we have to worry about going through a stoplight because I don't think there's a stoplight. There's a warning light, a yellow light, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's a
I'm
good
just
point.
concerned about the state has a new tiered system they introduced last year. So you miss one filing, you go on one tier and it moves up and then it gets on your record. And then it also, the town actually has to retrain their staff because it's now a state statute. So that changed my thought process on how we file and how down the road would that affect us if we have a change in staff, a change in auditing firm, and they can't handle the work. That's what my concern is. So
Yeah.
that's it. The risk. You said it perfectly,
Okay,
Jennifer.
great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So I just had one more question and then we will come off this
Yeah.
topic. You said the Board of Ed provides their information by the end of August.
Yes.
Is that an audited? I mean, they use the same auditor. Do they have that, their auditor is looking at that or your auditor?
Our auditors have to really concentrate on them because they got to get them
Yeah.
closed by the end of August. So
So
they
they're
file.
closed. by
No, not
August.
totally.
Oh.
So what happens is they send it up to the state. They're required by the state or else they'll have a penalty by the end of August. Then the auditors will do as much as possible. They send up their
So
the
they're
whole big
working
system.
right through the summer and that they file an audited financial statement.
No, not an audited financial. It's called their ESF. It's a whole big report that they have to go into a software and report to the state.
Okay,
Then-
and that's audited.
That's audited. And then the state allows them to open up in November. The state
a
then
change.
says, because if accruals come in like they do for us,
Right.
they have to do those and then they can put it in November. The auditors will then close everything down because I forget, it's sometime in November. You have to wait till the state opens that up for the Board of Ed books.
Thank you for that
Yep,
clarity.
thank you. And I'm
Okay.
sorry. So it's identifying a risk, I guess.
Okay, yep. Let's start, so we don't cover the CFO in the charter, much like we do, for instance, in Public Works.
Right.
Where the whole department is laid out and the functions. We don't lay out the functions of the finance department. So we'll just reference now your insight as to Board of Finance. I think we talked audit committee well enough. Take a look at, if you would be kind enough, under Article 5, we'll just start and go through it.
Yep.
Where you might have any comments here. As you know, we have 8 regular members and 3 alternates. I presume that works just fine. Any issues that you
No,
want to raise
not
there?
at all.
Okay.
We've got a great the town's very fortunate to have a great Board of Finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't happen to know what the length of service has been for the existing board. How would you feel about, or maybe you've worked with other towns where the Board of Finance would have term limits? Is that it?
Some of them do.
Yeah,
They're slightly different because some of them are elected versus appointed.
yeah.
I can see the benefit on both sides.
You just stepped into that one. Okay,
So-
we're gonna.
So that's, so it. I'm sorry, my.
No, sorry,
train
it's
of
term
thought.
limits.
Term limits. You definitely want to have some sort of continuity because of going
Yeah.
through and re-educating. And I know CCM is looking at how to train Board of Finance so they know, because private accounting and private books is completely different. And I came from
Yeah,
the
the
hedge fund
GASB,
industry, is
yeah.
completely GASB versus FASB and you know yourself, to the government side of it. It's a complete different world for me when I moved over. So from a term perspective of keeping them, the terms the way they are so that you can keep that continuity there and the knowledge base.
So if somebody was, let's say it was a four terms and then there's a rotation period or what have you. I mean, do you find that having new people joining the Board of Finance gives you a fresh set of eyes and as contributors, or is there a big learning curve?
I think there's a learning curve. There
Yeah.
definitely is a learning curve of how we do books. You know, understanding why we keep high fund balance. Like there's definitely fund accounting, the different rules of why we can't do things on certain timelines. There is a definite learning curve on that.
So
And
the-
how we keep we keep three types of accounting when we actually close the books as well. So when they're looking at pages, anyone picking up, you have to retrain them to go, this schedule is this schedule is this. So there is a lot.
With a 4-year term, is there a critical mass? Or are you just opposed to the idea of term limits in general? I think we're exploring, it. We're asking a bunch of people.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm not
but I
saying you
definitely-
are.
You need to
No, I-
keep some continuity for sure.
I never said
because-
that. I'm
yeah.
like, my question is that merely, does it make sense? Does it not? Given that it's a 4-year, would you think would be optimal or against it entirely? I'm just kind of curious, what you, based on your experience seeing, especially the lift that's required to get competent or really exceptional in that role.
I think there's certain boards, certain members with their knowledge base.
Yeah.
You really want to hold on to that because that's to me, that's a big plus. So you don't have to explain it
Right.
over again when it's such a critical function of when you're doing it on a monthly basis and then you have your audit at the end that they understand what you're actually doing.
I have a question. You know, recently Wilton has had some issues.
I can't hear you, and if you can put
Sorry.
that on.
Oh, sorry. Wilton has obviously had some dialogue about roles and responsibilities and risk and controls. Do you think we have the right risk and controls in place today?
We've done a lot of work from a finance perspective and with the
Mhm.
help of HR, the first selectman and Tucker in getting more controls in place. The past 4 years, we did do a lot. We did a lot of separation of duties. We did a
Yeah.
lot of workflow in our systems. A lot of it was paper-based and things like that. There's always room for improvement. There is
Mhm.
definitely always room for improvement. And a big part of it is documenting that. And that's a big part of making sure you have that documentation in place. So
like
with
a
the
manual.
continuity for the next person, my ultimate goal is to have documentation on every desk. So the next person that comes in is able to pick it up and know where.
Do you still have any identified risks and controls that you need to work through?
No, I'd say we've locked down the things I'm very comfortable, the banking, we've locked down a lot of our
Right.
banking. We've locked down our workflows. I've had a lot of staffing changes in the last and leaves in the last 4 years. So we haven't had a stable staff, say in 4 years because of different reasons. And now we're really coming together that we feel we're in a really good place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
You had mentioned that you've worked under boards of finance or with boards of finance. They're both elected and appointed. Have you noticed what are the differences, if any, between bodies that are elected versus appointed?
I would say the difference is just the retraining.
The retraining.
Retraining of,
Yeah.
especially from a finance perspective, when you have people that understand the finance side of it. Turning that over every 4 years and you got another board, you've got to retrain again in terms of how your books look, why your financials are the way they are. That would be,
So there's generally more turnover in an elected board
Right.
versus.
Exactly the question I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's-
ask. Generally
yeah.
higher.
yeah. If you have a board that, half of it turns over, that's difficult to start all over again and explain why things are the way you function.
That's right.
Do you
Okay.
see anything coming from the state level that would impact what you do today that we need to account for in the charter? You spoke about some new rules on tiers and other things.
I wouldn't say that would be something that would go into a charter because you could really then handhold yourself that it would actually hurt yourself long-term. Because if that risk happens of, the ultimate, everybody turns over in staff and your audit companies, and that's what's happening to other towns, you've got yourself restricted in a charter when it's already a state statute.
Right, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
is there anything we should be cognizant of? Because you obviously sit on this board with other CFOs, right?
Yep.
And you obviously have a antenna or let's say, that's what's going on from a general space. Is there anything, because to your point, we only open this up every 10 years-ish. Is there anything that we should anticipate that we should think about now?
Right now, there has been a lot of changes. I don't see anything that,
Coming?
yeah, I don't. the state has done a lot of, put in a lot of accountability for us as well. Things we have to file the audit, but then we have to file all these other things that have to be filed by December 31st, not just the audit. We've all these other UCOA and pension and audit and all these different numbers. But I don't think that's any impact, that's
Okay.
that's a function of your audit.
Got it.
Yeah, so I really don't see it right now.
I'm on section C5-6, unless somebody has any comments before that.
No, I'm on 5.6 myself. I had a question in there.
All right, Russ, you want to go first?
Sure. Is the language in 5.6, which is this, it talks about the actual schedule of budgets realistic today? Because I know that in the real world, or the way that we're currently operating as Board of Selectmen starts in January, then February is when it goes to Board of Finance, and March goes to Town Council. This is, I think, in the charter, it says the first Tuesday in February, you go to the selectmen. I'm just curious if the language, it's not necessarily bad. We're obviously moving the schedule a lot earlier than what is called for in the charter, but it doesn't necessarily reflect reality.
I would say no, because it's down to a good process. It depends on how organized and processed we have Tucker and
Yeah.
First Selectmen that, and they work with the budget manager to get these schedules out. So everybody's well aware of them ahead of time.
We hit way earlier than this, which is
Well,
not
we
a
do
bad
to
thing.
give people time, like you said.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a state statute? The third Thursday preceding the first Tuesday or?
It is really.
I would have to take an afternoon, like well into the summer, and just sit and map out Thursday, preceding first Tuesday.
Yeah.
It probably depends by town, because if some have other town meetings to vote, they have, okay, if your town meeting's set, because it's set by X. So I think it's very specific to a town on what you choose to do as your budget schedule versus it's a state statute. You have to file your budget by a certain timeline by the state statute.
You do.
Yes, you do have to file it, unless you have to let the state know. But I think it's very much up to the town to set that.
I mean, it's, if you like this, I'm not suggesting any change, but it's
Just takes
interesting.
brain power to sit down. and
Yeah,
figure
go through
out what
it.
those dates
Yeah.
really mean, and I do produce a document that has all the dates. She's
Right.
always
Yeah.
fill in the last Thursday and the first Tuesday, I actually put the dates.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work to get that all done.
It seems really messy.
I can't keep track of it. But anyway, the one comment that we shared or asked the Board of Finance to come up with is there's a reference to that the budget be submitted in a form prescribed by the Board of Finance. And we heard from the Board of Finance members that, something that has lasted for years and years and years, and they're comfortable with the form in which. Is there any change or any comments that you give to the Board of Finance in terms of the ways that the budget should come in front of them, or you're comfortable with the way that
No,
is?
we're comfortable with it, and we've hired a new budget manager who has streamlined it even more. Everyone has done their work on it and, progressed on it. So, to make it as streamlined as possible. But no, we don't have an issue with that.
And the same with the Board of Education, you're happy with the way the format is on their budget estimates, et cetera?
Oh, yeah, it does. We know the pages we need to pull in. They're one line on our budget,
Right.
in our budget book, so
Right.
it's not as difficult, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on 5.6?
No.
Bill, I had a comment or question. I didn't want to interrupt earlier. And you said that, I think, and maybe Russ was asking a question about elected versus appointed, and you talked about the elected members of the Finance Committee, having to be trained because of GASB and other things, which I fully understand and fully agree with. But isn't that also the same case with respect to appointed? Because, you probably don't have any appointed officials or elected officials in most towns that really understand GASB at all, correct? Everybody has to be brought up to speed. Am I wrong?
That's correct. From appointed, I'm not sure in terms of what's the length of their terms in terms of appointed. Elected, you run the risk of possibly not getting someone who has the right knowledge and background to be on that committee versus someone who's appointed and has the background that will, accounting's accounting. It's just how different those rules are. And someone in the accounting field and finance, would be able to understand and get acquainted with that quicker than someone who could be elected and doesn't have that level of a background.
Mhm.
I guess that's the bigger overreaching part of it.
Understood. You mentioned something about CCM is going to provide some sort of, is it testing or just courses?
They're looking at things to help towns and elected boards. There's different meetings and CCM tries to do things like that. So they're looking into that.
Is that, do you think that it should be a requirement from members of the Board of Finance to actually go through this education process? Or have they actually officially launched it?
They haven't launched it. They haven't, it's something they're looking to, but it's also something that we could put together as, you know, as a town could put together to our boards, especially finance, when they're coming in going, here's how the the budget works, or how the, not the budget, I should say more the financial side of things with the ACFR.
You know, Kathleen, if you asked that question, Kathleen, if there was a course or a requirement, whatever the terminology is by the state, you know, I think mandating it for the Board of Finance would be a good idea. You know, maybe not every year, but, you know, over a period of time, because as you know, most professionals have continuing education requirements. So it wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, really not directly related to Ann's area, but that's something more from a charter standpoint. And maybe more broadly in all areas. You know.
Yeah, there's
whatever,
normally like a
mandated
CLE.
there's clauses out there. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to do your CLE.
Okay, any comments on capital expenditures? Pretty straightforward.
I only have one question on it. 5 years enough in today's environment? We open this book up every 10 years, so.
Yeah, because after 5 years,
It's
I mean,
still
even getting to
speculative.
5 years, you don't really know what happens. And as you see, we move things up a year, put things out another year. So I think 5 years is a good one. And certainly we're trying to do costing and figuring that out. It certainly helps from a bonding perspective
Sure,
and what
yeah.
could be out there, when it could be bonded.
Pension and retirement and insurance. Tell us how you are involved in that.
Which
This
one
is C58.
So I am on the pension committee that makes decisions, but
There's two, I might have had this wrong. There's two committees that we were advised about. One was the
RPAC?
RPAC,
which, yeah, I'm not a.
that's not the one you're on.
No,
Okay.
it's the, Cheryl, correct me if I'm right, is it the committee, pension committee, which is we make we vote on who goes into their pension, the expenditures, that type of the administration side of it
Yep.
versus the investment side, which is more the RPAC and changing assumptions and things like that.
And who do they ultimately report to?
The Board of Finance, they make their
The pension
recommendations.
committee does?
Yes.
Okay.
The RPAC, sorry, the RPAC.
The RPAC
The
does.
RPAC is the subset who make the changes in assumptions and
Right.
recommend the changes in assumptions to the Board of Finance.
Right. But what about your committee,
The pension committee.
pension committee?
Yeah, the first selectman is.
First selectman.
Yeah,
It goes
she's
to
on
first-
that. She's the chair of that board. Or the position
First selectman
is
is
the
chair
chair.
of our, okay.
Yeah.
We don't have that in the, in which is fine, because as long as there's an ordinance for it, or whether it should be defined is something that we have to kind of figure out.
I think it should be defined in the ordinance.
Ordinance, okay.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, we've been
that's not our
going through.
It's new.
Oh, it's new.
It was created under Rob Malazzi.
Yeah.
So I don't believe you're gonna find much.
Hit the button.
I don't believe you're gonna find much.
So when you say
Go ahead,
the
Bill.
reports, the pension committee reports to the Board of Finance, that's not the right terminology, but the Board of Finance, when they actually approve what? What are they approving?
No.
Are they
So the
approving your
RIPAC,
recommendation, or are they?
okay, so there's two committees.
Say that?
There's the RIPAC, which is members of the Board of Finance. They are an arm of the Board of Finance, and they are there to look at the investment side. If there is any changes in pensions for pensioners, it has to go first to them and then to the town council. Then there is the pension board. That is administrative. It is defined in the pension, and they are there approving individuals who will go out on a disability pension, a regular pension, or if there's a deceased pensioner. So they have two very different roles.
So they're more the administration
Correct.
as opposed to the investment side, which is RPAC.
Correct.
And the pension committee therefore reports to the Board of Selectmen or first selectman.
First selectman, she is
okay.
the chair, and then there's a member of police union, fire union, a member of the Board of Finance, and the CFO.
So they're just approving who goes out on what type of pension, or if they go out early, or they have a medical or whatever, but they're not approving, cost and expenses away of the plan, the underlying numbers. The finance committee is not approving them. Do I understand that?
That's correct. The RIPAC is the one that is the arm of the Board of Finance. They are the investments, and they are the ones understanding the funds. The pension committee is the advisory board.
That's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we then go into 5-9, where members of the Board of Finance have shared with us the budget recommendations, the public hearing, any comments there? First, Ann, I'll offer nothing. Okay, anything from, any questions from our members? No? And then the annual budget meeting itself. And that's the, not later than the 7th Tuesday following the first Tuesday of February.
The first full moon of the.
I can't even begin to suggest changes or corrections to that. Okay. No comments there. And the town, such meeting of the town council shall be held not later than 11 weeks after the first Tuesday of February in each year. Honestly, where do those come
I
from?
think I'm gonna get that because I write that up every year. I think it is prescribed by statute.
Okay,
I think it has something to do with the election.
okay, all right, let's move on then.
Bill Tucker said she thinks it may be statute. She left the room to go grab something to verify that.
Okay, going into 5-11.
This is now reverting to the town council.
So I have a question on that one.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was brought up in 511 was the town council, whether right now they can hold or reduce, but not increase. And it's been a topic of discussion whether they should be able to increase or not. I'm just curious your thoughts on it.
I'm thinking,
Or restore, sorry, that was, the word was restore, not increase, but restore something that had been cut in the two prior sessions.
I'd actually have to really think on that one, in the consideration of that, because, yeah, I'd have to think on that one and maybe
Are
get
you
back,
familiar with that in any other towns that you
No.
operate in?
Okay.
but I'd have to
Okay,
consider it.
special appropriations, 512.
I don't have any, we have that option when needed.
Yeah.
So, yep. And we've been through it twice. So it's,
It's,
Very
the process
clear.
works.
process is good. Yep.
Give us an example.
So we had to do an appropriation in terms of an expenditure that we needed to do. And we weren't ready to bond it yet. So we needed to do the appropriation first with the ability to bond if we wanted to pay ourselves back. So we did an appropriation through the appropriate boards all the way through. And it was it went very well. I just thought the process was very well.
So that's actually a good lead into the next one, which is bond issues. Some of these titles I find questionable, but anyway. And it's then, so you go through the process where you go, do you get special appropriations first before you get to, or some cases you go straight to bonding?
No, we go, the first aspect is we get the authorization in place that allows the spending to go forward.
Yeah.
We don't bond typically don't bond until the project's done. So we bond what we need versus the full amount of the project. So the authorization comes first and then we bond at a later date. Tried to do annual to keep it consistent.
Annual.
Yeah.
Okay, so the language here, how do you feel about that?
I didn't see a problem with it.
Okay. Tell us how that process works, and the town treasurer's here, but how it goes through the town. First, I guess the Board of Finance, there's a couple of steps here, right? It's the Board of Finance, then the town council, and then it says such bonds, if and as approved by the town council, shall be executed and signed by the first selectman and the town treasurer and the town clerk, puts the seal on it. So lots of different moving pieces there.
And that's covering two processes. So the first part of this section is covering the actual, let me just make sure I'm reading it the right way. In our authorization, when we go for our capital authorizations every year, which we're doing right now, in our authorizations, it gives us the ability to bond. So it's all wrapped up in that process. Once we go out for the bonds, that process doesn't go back to the boards. We have the authorization to go out to do it. So we're in that process right now where we're working with bond counsel, financial advisor, so that we pull it all together to do that offering to go out. And then at that point, that's when the town treasurer and the first selectman gets involved in choosing what bonds we're going to go for and signing off on it.
And they choose the term and the tenor?
No, it's all tax-based, so it depends on what the length of what the asset is.
Okay,
We put that in 5, 10, usually 5, 10, and 20 years.
5, 10, and 20,
Mhm.
okay.
So it seems like what's might be missing here is that the Board of Finance may recommend the issuance of bonds of the town in the form and subject required by law for any public purpose, and the Board of Finance delivers that recommendation to the selectmen first. Is that what happens? So I'm going to guess, that's the first sentence. I'm going to guess that you approach the Board of Finance first, the CFO approaches or maybe the town treasurer, comes to the Board of Finance and says, we'd like to bond this particular expenditure. Is that how it
No,
works?
it's all wrapped up in the authorization.
Yeah.
So when the capital projects are approved this year,
The
say
budget,
it's the budget.
right?
So 20 million is in capital expenditures. We do the authorization for that 20 million. It's broken down by whatever bucket that we need it to be in. That authorization right there gives me the ability to go out to bond. That's in that whole it's authorizing the project and it's authorizing the bonds. So when the boards approve that authorization, I can go out and bond. I could go out and bond the next month or the next year. That gives the authorization to do it.
This one says also then the selectman has to publish 2 successive weeks
That's
of a
the
meeting
authorization.
of the town council to consider and act upon the recommendation of the Board of Finance. So, I mean, there's so many different bodies here, right? So it's I'm just wondering if this language
I know
is
what now what I'm
operating the
thinking,
way
yeah.
you're describing.
I'll have to look at this language and come back because you're right, because it's 2 separate processes, but the authorization and the bond issuing is all approved in the budget process. And then we bond at a later stage. That requires the last sentence. That requires that action. So it's kind of commingling both those processes together, but they are separate.
Hmm.
So
So what is the typical filing date for a bond offering?
it could be any
Yeah,
date you
when-
choose.
No, I know that, but when do we normally do it?
We haven't had a consistent timeline in the past. I'm bringing it back to March because that seems to be the best time to go into the market for municipalities. So we have, I think the past 2 years, we do it
Okay.
in March. We do the pricing in March and then the sale at the end of March.
Okay.
And those towns that haven't issued financial statements for 2 or 3 years, if they're bonding, what do they use? What financial statements?
I don't know. I don't know what they're using in their,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
So if you'd be kind enough, just to go through, does this flow?
No, I'm going to
as
take a look at this as
described,
described. I'll
really
take a
work?
look at this.
Okay.
Because it looks like it's combined as one, but it really is 2 processes that,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and then we see the repeat of the clause that the town council, they can approve, disapprove, or reduce the amount of the bond issue, but may not increase the same or change the terms thereof. So that's consistent with what's above in terms of the approval of the
process
budget.
of the- Yeah.
Right. And again, I can't remember any time the town council has ever said, we want you to reduce the bond issue. Have they?
It would be if they don't want a project. So it's
Because
not the
they've
bond
already
issue.
authorized it
You're
by the
right.
budget process.
Right. So what I'm bonding this year are authorized projects from 1, 2, or 3 years ago.
Right.
They don't touch what we would bond. They not touch. They would make a decision and approve on the project being presented going, we don't want this project, or put it out a year. That's what they're actually addressing.
Okay. Well, if you take a look at this and just
I
be
will.
sure that you're comfortable.
Yep, I will.
Okay. Where 2 sentences can get you tied up on time. Okay. So special taxes for special improvements. Now this, it does reference the Board of Finance and then also the tax collector. This seems to be
It seems
something
standard,
that's
yeah, it's
old
standard with
language.
most-
Is it standard or is it?
Because your governing body would have to go through this, so.
I mean, I can't think of the last time we had a special tax for special improvement. Ever. I mean, my 20 years. But if we did, this would be the process.
I'll review.
Yeah.
And I actually can look at a couple of the towns, what they do,
Okay.
but reading it seems like the appropriate process.
Okay. Sewer taxing district, we do have a separate taxing district here, and to what extent are you involved in this, Anne?
I'm not as involved as would be DPW in setting the rates, and how they do it. We went from more of a tax to a utility charge. So that would be more of a DPW setting that up through the assessor's office.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Would the same be true then in section 16, 17? Also sewer taxing?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to do with that? Is there a sewer budget that you're
There is a
involved in?
sewer budget that goes through that DPW does put together with the department head who oversees that.
Okay.
And it's a whole process. They put their capital plan in there too
Right.
on it, and they have a sewer operating and a sewer capital fund as well.
There's a revenue line and a.
So it doesn't flow through for any reason, the board,
The operating?
Yeah,
No, not at all.
okay,
Not at all.
just, okay. All right, if there was a special taxing district, this would be covered under 18. Peruse that, that's again a rarity that.
Yeah,
not
you see that like with fire districts and. some
Fire
places,
districts or
that's the big one,
Norwalk,
But we don't
yeah.
have that here.
No,
Yeah, we don't have a.
Yeah, like Norwalk with
Norwalk,
the water. and,
thank you. I can't
SCW.
think, taxing district 1
Yep,
and 2. I
First
forget.
taxing, yep.
Thank you,
Yeah.
first taxing. We don't have anything like that.
I guess just if you take a perusal of that as well,
Yep.
assuming, if that ever came to fruition, is that the right way? The tax collector, we've actually already talked to the first selectman about that, or one of our groups did.
Yep.
Tax warrant. Again, this might be language, so it is the Board of Finance, they're actually signing a warrant to the tax collector. I think
Mhm.
that's what was referred to us, right?
Yeah.
Tax dollars, yeah.
And that's a
Okay.
state
That's a
statute
state
too.
statute.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jennifer, yeah.
Okay, anything else on payment of taxes?
No.
Okay.
Liens?
Goes to the general fund.
There's a timing issue there with July.
You bring that to the
So-
Board of Finance, don't you?
The assessor, or, well, sorry, he's the Director of Assessment and Taxation, would bring the liens, and typically the liens, it's called I can't think of the word, inchoate lien is in effect July 1st,
Mhm.
but they don't put the actual lien on the books until possibly April of the next year. So they put a physical lien. So this is appropriate.
Okay.
You're not involved in this at all? the lien
No, I
process?
don't. I
Okay.
just know it from being a tax
Okay.
collector, but yes.
Okay. And the fees,
Yep.
water rates.
That would be,
Well, and it's generic because we don't provide water.
Yeah.
It's private, Aquarian.
So is this appropriate where it is currently?
I mean,
I wouldn't be able to speak to this one. Yeah, this would be.
it's a question for Tiger. I mean, would we ever get into the business of providing water as a municipality? Then you have enabling language here. Otherwise, it's not currently occurring.
I'll have to go through the public works section too, whether this is addressed there as well. Okay. Okay, are you involved in 525 payment judgments against the town?
Not
Make-
directly, other
okay.
than, you know,
Just
the
the processing?
assessor. Yeah, yeah.
The treasurer is involved here as well. Should the money in the town treasury available for such purposes be insufficient? How would someone determine whether or not the town treasury was insufficient?
Is there
So
a-
if you didn't, if the money that you need is not
the
sufficient
general
to cover
fund?
in the general fund. So
Okay.
I've issued TANs in the past because there wasn't sufficient money until the new tax revenue comes in. So if you had a settlement, if you were in that position that you couldn't float that,
Yeah.
you would do some sort of go out for bonding of some sort, short-term bonds or something to cover that cash flow till your tax revenues come in.
So
See-
okay. So
You see
the-
that in an emergency, right? If you end up with
Yeah.
major expenditures in a major disaster, something like that.
This is a judgment.
But this would be a judgment if
Yes,
someone
it's
came in and
This
you
is
to
totally a
pay,
judgment.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
couldn't cover it with our current, you know,
What you have.
again, it comes
yeah.
down to your fund balance. So
Right.
that's having the cash in your fund
Mhm.
balance and protecting that.
Okay.
It's a liquidity issue, what you're talking
Yes,
about. Yep.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, I think we had gone through enough of the audit committee, which brings us then to 5-30, recipients of town funds required to keep records for auditing purposes.
This one is clear in terms of any of our, we do get, you know, 990s, we do get audited, we get their financials, what we need to go through. Our auditors request financials for different ones, subrecipients of grants, things like that.
So, I mean, is this realistic though? If I am receiving funds from the town of New Canaan for a public purpose, it says, I will keep receipts of the method and manner in which the funds received from the town are expended. And I'll submit to the Board of Selectmen annual reports in a form prescribed by that board, setting forth the details of the expenditure of such funds, and shall submit such records for audit to the town auditors. So I guess this might be the case of if the town were to grant to one of the, New Canaan Cares, for instance, and do they have to come back and report on how those funds were used in terms of the expenditures by that organization?
I would have to look into this one because some of them would come under a different department that may get those reports that I don't see. So I would need to come
Okay.
back. on
Wouldn't
that
the
one.
library fall under this? Because they're a non-for-profit?
The library. Let me see.
They do have to give you and come for an appropriation in the budget process. But at that point, the library is also receiving funds from the town. In terms of their salary and expenditures, I believe they're also on the town pension. So maybe you
I'd
want
have to consider that. Yeah, I have to
that's
look- yeah,
probably,
you're-
what I'm saying is that's
Yeah.
a probable candidate for
Yeah.
that verbiage.
EMS probably also would be an example, but they track everything through Munis, and so they're.
Yep, we track
meet
their
that.
expenditures through Munis, so we
Right.
see that anyway. Yep.
So you might want to look at that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, especially the
The library would be the
annual
candidate.
report, not that I recall ever seeing an annual report from anything, any organization to the library, EMS,
Right.
excuse me, to the Board of Selectmen.
They may provide it to the granting organization. like
They
Health and
do
Human Services,
provide us
they
the
do.
granting one, but yeah.
So that.
That
may
might
not
need to be
what's
updated.
the term.
And is it provided to the town auditors? Is town auditors defined? Capital, A, no, not defined.
There's a lot of not defined
Yeah,
terms.
Odd, I'm not defining
know.
here.
Okay. That definitely needs to be looked
Oh,
at.
that was one of my tags.
Okay. Okay, this is,
So, Kathleen,
Yes.
I'm not sure that on this we talk about the library and the others. It goes back to similar questions that we've asked. When there is a special use of funds or special allocation of funds by the town, whether it be town council or selectmen, whoever, there's an expectation of follow-up. And I guess I just wasn't clear what the answer was. Who is it that's responsible for following up on all of these financial commitments that these towns are making? Is it the CFO or is it some other department, or who owns that problem?
That's certainly something we could look into. I've
That's
never seen
exactly
it.
what we're looking,
We're
yeah.
looking into that. Yep.
This section 5-30 discusses a manner of information flow that I don't know if it exists
Yeah.
formally. And
Yeah,
maybe,
I wouldn't think the auditors, the auditors just check what the town does.
right,
No, there's certain entities that the auditors will audit funds that have been flowed through, especially if they're grants. They do ask for their financials. There's a few that they ask for.
so in the case of a grant, and we'll use
That's
a
why they have
library.
a special fund report, but I'm talking about, I don't know the detail, but for example, the Playhouse being the most recent thing, there's ins and outs and there were commitments that were made contractually. I'm just trying to figure out which department, is it Tiger's department? Is it the finance department? I'm not sure even what the answer should be, but I'm just sort of wondering, and should we deal with that in the charter or somewhere else?
Well, it is in the charter. The question is it right? Yeah.
Okay.
Does it
I
actually
understand
follow
the
through?
question right.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think we should dig into that.
Yep,
Okay.
Definitely will.
I think the library is going to be your biggest.
Library, the Playhouse, the Powerhouse, there's
The school,
Well, remember, they have to
daycare?
be a third-party entity, right? Yeah.
yeah,
The
the
daycare.
anybody,
the daycare.
Yeah.
person, group, organization, anybody receiving funds.
Fund.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean,
accounting.
how about them? How about Avalon, for example? Just when you look at the list, I have no idea what the deal is, but is there any financial commitments one way or the other? And if so, which
Housing.
department in town is responsible for
housing.
following up
We
on
don't
that?
get involved in that. We don't get involved in the affordable housing unless I'm missing that. I'd have
Well,
to
the
look in-
grant for the Avalon,
Acquisition.
Well, I don't think
Yeah.
Avalon's affordable housing. I don't think Avalon's affordable housing yet, right?
it's
I don't
the
know.
Riverwood, the Riverwood.
Riverwood now, and it's
The
been
Riverwood,
purchased by the Housing Authority.
yeah.
So anyway, you may be right. I just think we
This
should
needs
just
to
know,
be-
that's all. Yeah.
No, it needs to be tightened up
Yeah.
in terms of, yeah.
Or, yeah, exactly.
Or if it hasn't been done, then why?
What?
What
Yeah.
happened? And
Right.
who's responsible?
Because
It sounds like it's the Board of Finance who's responsible to receive this information where it's under. So, because it's in the Board of Finance charter section, right? And
I think
then,
it's just talking about
they're
town
submitting it-
funds, yeah.
right, but they submit their annual report to the Board of Selectmen.
I don't think that.
In a
makes sense.
form prescribed by the Board of Finance, right? Or the Board of Selectmen, we don't know. Yeah, and then those information should be given to the town auditors.
Yeah. Okay. 31, system of accounting. What is our system of accounting now?
The physical
Munis?
software, it's Munis. Yeah,
Munis.
we're building out really good ERP system. Like I said, we've set up a lot of workflows that were in there. We still have more that we'd like to set up, more projects we'd like to set up. We have been working in terms of, we set up a contract. It's in its pilot year because, when you have changeover, this is my concern. We can talk about risk and losing the continuity. What contracts that are in place for 10, 20 years and nobody knows about? Someone has a different spreadsheet, someone has this. So we're trying to get all those contracts into a depository place in Munis. So that's being worked on, whether it's an expenditure or a revenue coming in, rental income. We're looking at all different types of what we call their subledger. Their fixed assets was done by a third party. We brought that in-house now, so we have more control over that. And Munis is one of the top ones within the country.
Is it?
It's under Tyler, so it's one of the top ones, yeah.
So could you tell me that Munis keeps records that show amounts of current and past taxes?
There's a system, Munis, for that one, it's actually Quality Data Service. QDS is the tax collection system that flows into Munis.
So we have that too.
Yep, we have,
Okay.
and we set that up as an upload file versus a manual
Okay.
process.
Okay, and then we have, it does the systems, I guess plural. I would put it a plural there. The town shall maintain systems.
Yeah,
A system or systems. either
systems,
or.
because we do
Accounting.
have quite a number of different systems based on the needs of those departments.
Especially if you got past taxes, all types of liabilities of each tax-paying entity. That's not a munis.
Munis would, it's when a tax-paying entity, I'm just trying to see what it really means with this. We have our different funds. So we have special funds, we have the operating fund, we do all those entries to keep it
Okay.
in the system.
So, okay. And then the collections, adjustments, charges and abatements, is that in the systems of accounting?
That would be, if we're talking strictly tax collection, that's in their system quality data at QDS.
Okay.
And it's everything's kept, both the assessor and the collector share the same system, so they talk to each other.
Yeah, a lot of this is QDS, whereas the second sentence
Second
is shall
is,
maintain financial records as munis.
Yeah.
Okay. And the financial records we maintain are both GAAP, right?
Mhm.
And GASB. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're modified, we're budgetary, but we're also modified accrual. So even though at the end of the year, it is what the numbers are, we do year-end accruals. That's that 60-day look back. So we do both GAAP and GASB.
Okay. And the auditors their audit is on both GAAP and GASB?
They take our budgetary books, make sure we bring it to our modified accrual. Then they take it from, there's a next section of the full modified accrual, because you've got to take in the information from the state for the Board of Ed for their pension and OPEB. That's the full modified accrual. Then when they go to full accrual, that's depreciation, change in liabilities, the OPEB pension, net values. There's a whole other calculation that brings in with that encumbrances. And
When the last sentence states that the town shall annually hire an independent accounting firm to audit the financial books of the town, who does that go through?
so it goes through the town council, chooses the audit firm.
Okay,
When it says annually, we reappoint, their contract usually is for 3 years. You just don't want to keep changing your auditors every year.
okay.
So we typically do 3 years and then 1 year additions after that. And every year we get an engagement letter from whatever firm we're using, and that goes through the appropriate bodies to sign off on. Not usually, it's the town council that will.
So it should say the town.
Normally, the audit committee normally the audit committee, at least normally being the 10 years I was involved, made a recommendation to the town council, I believe, in the
Right.
December, January timeframe.
But I
Which
think
is
that
probably
sentence,
something,
yeah. Well, at a minimum, the
Say that
sentence just, the sentence I'm thinking should say the town council shall annually hire or reappoint.
Reappoint, because we could have a contract for 3 years, so you're not going to rehire them. You're going to engage them for that
Right.
next year.
So,
Yeah.
or reappoint,
Yeah.
right? An independent accounting firm to audit the financial books of the town. I hate.
well, the
books.
fact of the matter is I believe, and you would know, you've read the contract more recently, but I would assume we enter into a contract with them every year legally. We could fire them after the first year in a 3-year rotation without penalty. I believe typically the way it is, you can hire them have the
Okay.
expectation to hire them for 3 or 4 years, but they're being hired for 1 year at a time.
Or how
Thanks.
about the town council shall annually, contract with an independent, instead of hiring, do you hire them or you
Well,
contract?
We are in a
engage
contract for say right now, we're in a contract for 3
Yeah.
years.
It's,
So,
But you
I see-
renew the commitment every year?
yeah, with an engagement letter.
It's an engagement letter.
Yeah. With an engagement letter. And then after that 3rd year, then it has to go through the process of the town council hiring them for that extra year.
we actually, yeah.
Yeah, so it really, you're right, this section maybe needs to change up a little bit,
Yeah.
the sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Okay. Just adding on your list of things to do, Ann, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. And then it says here, with the town council shall either hire, reappoint, engage in a contract, whatever we want to say.
Yep.
To audit the financial books of the town. The town and the Board of Ed, no? Are we?
Unless they're considering the town, because the books of the town, the books are the town's books. They're not-
Including the Board of Ed?
Yeah, because they're the one line item.
Okay,
So,
And require the firm to submit a formal audit report to, let's go through it, Town Council, Board of Finance, and Connecticut OPM.
And I think the audit team wanted to add our audit committee in there as well, which wasn't there.
Is it the draft or the formal audit report that the audit committee sees?
So yeah, there was a request to submit a formal audit report to the town council, the audit committee, the Board of Finance, and the Connecticut office. That was an ad that was asked for.
Okay.
oh, because the audit committee refers it to the town council.
Right.
Right now, that's what they do.
Okay, so we want to just maybe put them in order to the audit committee. So the audit committee, this says that the auditing firm actually submits the formal report to the audit committee, the town council, the Board of Finance. Board of Selectmen, I guess, don't see it at all.
Because technically, it's their audit. If you
Oh,
really, it's
who's audit?
CLA's audit of it's the auditing firm's audit of our books.
Right.
So it's really their audit of us.
Board of Selectmen's audit. This, I know what you're saying. It was,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the auditors, the external auditors review of the Board of Selectmen's books,
Town council.
Town, yeah,
the
Town
town's
council.
books.
town's books, yes.
Yes. And the
So-
independent entities that would then review that would be, or let's say the controls in place would be the town council, the auditors, the Board of
No,
Finance. Is that correct?
I think that's,
Actually,
I think we should work on these words. I think we have identified an issue. I think we should work on the words. The financial statements belong to the town. They don't belong to the
Yeah.
auditors.
no, the financial statements do, but the
and-
audit
and-
report.
Right.
The audit report is fundamentally 2 pages, or maybe 3 pages. I haven't looked at it recently, which is basically say they issue a clean opinion, they own issue. But the financial statements and all the footnotes belong to the town because they belong to the town.
Yeah, the town
Now,
is.
I mean, I know,
Go ahead, Bill, sorry.
no, I just gonna say we should work on the words to get, unless you want to do it here. But
Get it
the
right.
financial statements and all the footnotes belong to the town. And to me, it would be certainly Ann and Deanna. I mean, I'll bow to government accounting in the sense of we have a lot of different organizations here. But at the end of the day, I believe Deanna signs the bond offering. Those financial statements are in the bond offering. And the town council receives them, relies on them. They approve them to be filed. If I'm not mistaken, they actually approve them to be filed with the state.
Correct, that's what that sentence says.
So
The
I
Well,
think
it's-
this, is
they
really
should-
important.
well, yeah, because it's not saying that they need to supply it to these boards,
Right, so.
but it doesn't hold up the filing to the Connecticut state, because
Which-
that has to happen regardless if the board approves it or not. So this is saying, to me, I'm reading it as the report needs to be required to submit the report to the town council board of finance,
It says required.
required.
They cannot submit, well, they cannot submit a report until the town produces the report. Now, just to be clear, the auditors do help the town produce it, write the footnotes, but at the end of the day, it's the town that has to go to the town council. Back 10 years ago, when we had, numerous material weaknesses, the auditors nor the audit committee, no one would approve it, so therefore the town council wasn't going to approve it. So I just think it's the financial statements, which includes, I don't know, it's probably, what is it, 100, how many pages is it? Many, many pages. Those financial statements belong to the town and town management. They get an opinion by the auditors, and that's what goes to the town council. Town council has questions, they read it, they generally approve it, and once it's approved, then it gets filed with the various bodies that it has to get filed with. I don't know where the finance committee is in this. Finance committee, I believe, fundamentally is given a chance to read it, but I do not think they approve it, and I don't think Todd said they approved it. And I'm not
There's
sure.
no
they have.
language.
There's no language, thank you for approval. It means we have to supply the
We
report.
supply
We're
it, that's
actually
it.
putting it in front for approval when we're not really required based on this language.
See,
This
so-
language is saying we
Here's the
need to
report.
give them the
Here's
report,
the
which
report.
that would help
There it
me
is.
right now.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I would need for help. Because the risk factor, it's saying that we have to supply it to the boards. It doesn't say it needs approval, but it has to go to the Connecticut policy. It needs to go to OPM, or whatever.
That's state statute, so that's
Right.
above us.
So it can be, it can be.
So you could file, you could file it with the state without the town council approving it?
Yes,
Yes.
it's not
Or without
required.
Deanna approving it? Well, you understand that, but I mean, maybe it's not required, but I mean,
What you're saying.
not good hygiene for a single person to be able to file the financial statements without somebody in town approving them.
Well,
I mean, they
all it
belong
says
to
is,
just-
it doesn't say it requires approval, it just says it submits it. Just, it requires the firm to submit a formal audit report to the town council, Board of Finance, and Connecticut OPM.
And we, because of the timing, we gave the report to the Board of Finance in January to review and go through, but it had already been filed.
Did you have a
So-
deadline?
Yes, so we.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The finance committee typically has not in the past been in the process. But they have not been asked to approve it. They read it and generally one member of the audit committee goes to the Board of Finance to answer any questions. Typically, they haven't really had any. But it's really the
Right,
town
and-
council, I believe.
But it's not required by the town council or the Board of Finance. They're in the same bucket to say it just, the report needs to be submitted
Given,
to them,
yeah.
Right.
given to them versus approved by them.
Okay,
They
we
can
should
approve
we
it, it
should
doesn't
put this
mean
on our list as to who.
But that takes the pressure off
We'll
the
go-
risk factor. Yeah, so that's,
Sounds like your issues.
you've just resolved it. for
But
me.
anyway, let's,
Right.
But yes, something to look at.
let's go
It's
through. it.
somewhat advisory
Yes.
in nature.
And someone should review it.
Yeah, no, and I
definitely
think
agree.
the auditor team had asked to add also town council, audit, and Board of Finance.
The audit gets it by the pure nature of well, you can add it at your choice, but they get it from the nature of the fact of they have to sign off on it before I could submit it.
Our audit committee,
Their rules, it's not in the charter.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want to make it so hard for us that
No,
down the
let's
road
just-
if something
Let's
changes.
just sit down with a sharp pencil, go
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah,
and see if it
perfect.
works out. Okay. Okay, getting to the end here, transfer unexpended balances. I remember when you would do this. So you've got this budget and one item, I'll make it up, but one item would, you haven't reached the full amount. And you will then approach the Board of Finance to transfer. This always starts with not the CFO goes to, this starts with the Board of Finance will do, right? So it's missing the early
Early
step,
steps.
but that's
That's
okay.
Yep.
Because it's supposed to be about the Board of Finance, but so they can transfer unexpended balances from one appropriation to another. But no amount appropriated for any purpose shall be used or appropriated for other purposes without the approval of the Board of Finance. So there, it's sort of the Board of Finance is approving itself.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Yes, at the
That
end of the
first
year.
sentence?
And we bring that in front of them every year.
Wait, but
So-
isn't the selectman notifies the Board of Finance? For emergency money?
Oh, well, different things. It's.
These
there's-
are unexpended
Right,
balances.
these are at the end of
Oh,
the year,
okay.
we've unexpended, we bring them all into one,
Right.
All of the leftover gets
swept
Swept
into
up.
one account, so
Right.
we have the, yeah.
I mean, this sentence does not make sense to me. Okay, the Board of Finance, okay, may transfer unexpended balances from one appropriation to another, but no amount appropriated for any purpose, whether general or special, shall be used or appropriated for other purposes without the approval of the Board of Finance.
Yeah, we need to change,
That doesn't
we can
make any sense.
simplify this.
perfectly clear. I don't know what you're talking about.
It doesn't
Simplify.
make any sense. That's incorrect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll change
All
the
right,
wording on that.
fix, I'm just putting a big fix this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then unexpended cash balances remaining at the end of the fiscal year may by resolution of the Board of Finance be transferred to a surplus or taken out or subtracted from the amount the town council has authorized to be raised by taxation. Okay, that I understand. Okay, that I
Okay.
get. And then the committed appropriations for the capital improvements may, at the end of the fiscal year, with approval of the Board of Finance, be continuing to reserve. Okay, whatever B says, I think it's all right, doesn't. This is about capital improvements.
This is,
Yeah,
this would be, no, this, sorry, I can't say, tax supported capital. And we go in front of them every year to get the tax supported capital rollover because the authorization on the bonded capital, the authorization is unlimited. It doesn't end at the end of the year. So we do bring, although we do bring, when we have a project close, we bring it in front of them, but the tax supported is not indefinite. And that's, that goes in front
so
every
that
year.
language is correct.
Yes, yes,
That's
for the
right.
tax supported.
Weird.
I mean, if anything, I maybe suggest putting a timeline, but it's, the Board of Finance does approve this every year.
Okay, all right. Now, when you have expenditures that exceed appropriations, let's parse this. So this is prohibiting the town council to enter into a contract which we have not gotten the approval
Identified
appropriation,
funds.
or exceeds the already appropriations, right?
Yep.
So,
Council, officer, board, commissioner, committee. So
right,
none of
and
them.
basically anybody.
Anyway.
Okay. And if there's an emergency where more money is needed, okay, which has happened,
So
right?
it's except in cases of necessity, and then you have things, public welfare, but you're only allowed to do it one time by the charter currently. So if you have back-to-back hurricanes or whatever, I mean, it would seem extraordinary that you would ever in that situation, but you can only do it once in this.
Was that COVID? We did it once? Just thinking about that,
COVID,
because that would have been an
that was
extreme
probably the most extreme we've
right?
had, and that was one.
once. Okay, so that was a
Is,
pretty,
is that a limiting thing, though, if you end up with two big whammies? And I don't know if Connecticut general statutes even allows more than, I'm just pulled
Where
up.
do you see that you can only do one?
Actually, but not more than one such appropriation shall be made during any one fiscal year. So it's right after where it references CGS 7348.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know if that's just taking language. I just pulled 348 up here, but
I don't know
Might be.
why that's the
Yeah,
case.
that's right.
I don't know why that's the case.
Well, remember too, you also have the vehicle to go back and get a special appropriation too. So to your point,
Right.
Russ, if you
That's a
had
good point.
two hurricanes hit at which, and from the bank side on the risk, we never, I mean, does somewhere flood twice in 1 year? Rarely
Yeah,
ever, no.
not often, 1958.
So
we had
you
it.
have the ability to go back and use that other mechanism to basically get yourself some money as well.
Yep, just trying to make sure that's covered.
You don't want to test it.
Tucker,
No,
I thought the Board of Ed did it during COVID more than once. And I thought there was, the appropriations were connected, or forget exactly how they did it, but I'm sure they did it more than once.
Board of Ed, you mean?
Yeah.
Approach
Yeah,
the Board of
Ed, right.
Finance.
But that's part of the, I mean, that's part of the town. I think it went to the town council, is my recollection.
I don't remember.
I could be wrong, but that's my recollection.
Yeah,
Could have been 2 fiscal years.
so that's true.
Might have crossed over lines.
Yep, that's true. Okay, I had a change. Let me just make sure we got C5-12 is correct. The Board of Finance shall proceed under and in accordance with C5-12 relating to special appropriations. And C5-12 is special appropriations. Okay, that unfortunately doesn't exist on 5-3 penalty for exceeding appropriation. And this is just, because we had reformatted and included the audit committee in Article 5, that this C5-29, which is, it basically says if you've exceeded your appropriation, you in violation of, this says C5-29,
It's wrong.
and it should be
oh,
yeah.
it's changed now. Yeah.
It should be
33.
533.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one that I think was picked up. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Other than that, I think the language fits. Anne?
Yep.
So if you want, come back, take a look.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to come back again and have another dialogue, we can, up until maybe probably a little bit into March.
Okay.
If that's, or if you want to just respond via email, no problem too.
And it would be the three of you. on
Or
this
you
board.
could just send us. an
You send us the
email.
chart.
Whatever.
Do that.
Or if you come up with asking more questions. you know, we
Okay.
can get
And
together
it's,
again.
it's not just section 5, it's anything you see in the charter that you think. So we hit 5 in detail.
Okay,
because
so if
it's-
there's any other thoughts I had on different things that
Yeah.
affect me that aren't
Correct.
within my.
Well,
realm
town
here.
treasurer being one of them. So the town treasurer doesn't have its own section. It's referenced in a couple of sections,
Yeah.
but how, you were a town treasurer at one point?
Yeah, I was a treasurer specifically hired as one, and then I was a treasurer CFO, was in the same job.
And in those cases where did you have to be appointed every year to be the town treasurer? Was there some formal process?
The combined one, when I was a CFO and treasurer, that portion of the treasurer was just reappointed. It wasn't elected. It was just reappointed every, I think, 2 years. I don't
Every
remember.
2 years you had to reappoint?
Yeah, just reappointed, so it was on record.
Okay.
But I did both.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how did the town get comfortable with the separation of checks and balances, town treasurer and CFO?
So there's 2 signatories on everything.
Mhm.
So it would be my signature as CFO or as treasurer on there. And in that particular town, it was the first selectman who was the second signatory on it. And the breakdown along the way in paying things were 2 signatures on everything. And processing accounts payable was a workflow. So it started at the department. Someone entered, someone approved. It went to finance, someone paid, someone approved that payment with usually a comptroller or CFO. And then once that process was done and approved, it was an automatic going out because we had so many processes along the way approving it. The stamp was on the check or the ACH.
I was on the SH.
And yeah, we moved a lot of payments to ACH.
Mhm.
Um,
And did the selectman, that was an appointed position as treasurer?
When I combined, yes,
Yes,
yes, it was
okay.
appointed, yeah. It was
Uh-huh.
combined in. They had an appointed treasurer that was part-time years before, and they rolled the position into the CFO. Or it could be comptroller, it could be,
And how many, and we skipped over for Tucker, I know Tucker, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
sorry.
Yeah. I know, sorry, we've
No,
eaten
that's
into your time and it's all been
I'll be
very
working to
valuable.
give you information.
So again, maybe when we have more time, if you can comment also on sort of your functions, how they interact with the town treasurer. How do you see the town treasurer's activities with respect to the CFO's activities?
Yep.
And anything that your perspective is, we welcome.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
okay,
I definitely remember.
okay.
Thank you. Sorry, Tucker.
We should have known that. Tucker, I can imagine we're gonna take more time
No,
for you too. Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you, thank you.
Appreciate
No,
it.
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All good stuff, right?
Yes,
I
no,
mean,
it
we're
is actually,
looking
and
at
this is
language
it's a
that's been
great
there
format.
forever.
Thank you.
Democracy.
I pulled that document that we were just talking about.
Oh, the third Tuesday.
It is, it's
The
in the
15th
charter.
Thursday from the blue moon on the.
Um,
This whole article is like a hodgepodge of
It's,
stuff.
it's messy.
Yeah, it can be cleaned up quite a bit.
This is just something that I pull together every year to literally translate those third Tuesdays into actual dates. So that we work with that, but you'll see it is prescribed by the charter.
It's prescribed by the charter. I'm wondering how.
I
the
where that
charter
originally, I
gets
know,
it
got
from,
it.
you
And
know.
that's a very good question. It's something that we've worked with since I got here.
Yeah, I wonder if it's statutory.
We have to
And I
look
don't know,
into
that's,
it.
yeah.
We have to
No.
look into it.
I think it's going to
And,
your bin
oh,
of
it's
left
been
behind.
leftover. Oh, I'm gonna have
Our
to.
ever-growing list of
We've
winter
got so
stuff
many
that's been left
hats
here.
and
But who was
gloves.
here, Susan Spicer?
Yes, but it's not hers.
Oh,
I
it was
asked-
someone from Conservation Commission. Okay.
I asked Susan if that was hers. It wasn't.
Okay.
She said they found it here.
Oh, okay. Trying to think who was in here last night. I don't know. Anyway, hi.
Hi.
I did prepare just some remarks just because I wasn't sure exactly where you wanted to go with questions, but I thought I would just start with some prepared remarks if that's helpful and then go from there. And some of this, it feels funny to sit here and say some of this to all of you because I think you all know me well, but I, for posterity and for the recording, I thought I would just, for the benefit of everybody, just sort of lay out how I got here and that kind of thing. So, and before I even start, I do want to just thank you guys. I'm watching you. I've been attending most of your meetings. If not here, I'm listening to them. And I know what goes into minutes and agendas and postings and votes and all of that. So thank you very, very much for doing that. I think, and to that end, I think that's something that in my role, I take incredibly seriously is the fact that, everything needs to be accessible to the public as much as legally possible. So it's something that I work very hard and like I said, take very, very seriously. Just a little bit about me. Again, you all know me fairly well. Jennifer, you know, I probably don't know each other as well as I know Kathleen and Russ, but moved here in 1988. Married my husband. He grew up here, raised our 2 children here, was very involved in a lot of just community things as the kids were growing up. And in 2003, I was elected to the Board of Education and I served a term on the Board of Education, completing in 2007, which I then ran for a seat on the town council. And I was 4 years on the town council and then reelected for a second term on the town council. So, and during my role on the town council, I was primarily the Board of Ed liaison to the town council. Beyond that, and one of sort of the roles that I'm the most proud of is that in 2008, I became the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. I'd been a business manager for a business in town for many, many years, and was watching the chamber from afar and saw a lot of things that I thought might help the community. And I kept calling board members. And then one day they said, okay, you do it. It actually worked. It was a good timing. It was where my youngest had just gone off to college. So I did that for 12 years. Was very happy in that role, wasn't looking to make a change. COVID happened, 2008, COVID happened. And obviously everything, not 2008, 2008 is when I joined, that was a financial crisis with the chamber. And that was also a time that was actually a good time to come in that role because I could just sort of start fresh, right? You just had to come up with everything new. And so I really tried to build relationships with the business community. In 2020, when COVID came about, and I was, again, still with the chamber, that's when Kevin had initially approached me to run a couple of liaison groups between the businesses and the community. One of the things that we did was we got some business leaders, who we have many in this town, who offered up their time to provide free counseling to some of these businesses who were trying to figure out how they were going to survive. During that time, Kevin then asked me if, this position would be of interest to me. And I took that over in September of 2020. And again, back to, I know you've had the conversation at length about, elected versus appointed and that kind of thing. And I can only say that I believe Kevin's motivation at that point in time was, again, it was COVID, and he really did need someone who had a real pulse of the business community, the community at large. Those relationships. And so anyway, I moved over here and I've been very grateful for that opportunity ever since. Worked with Kevin through his terms and then our work, obviously, for Deanna. Again, I think, and I've heard Deanna say this, I've heard Kevin say it, I've worked for those 2 first selectmen. During my time in many of my other roles, I worked alongside many of the other first selectmen too. So again, I think what Kevin was looking for at that point in time was a skill set, which is something that I've heard others mention. And I think that's why he did approach me. With respect to the role as the administrative officer, I think it's important to provide some context. I know that there's many other terms and every other town seems to have, we have town administrators, town managers, operations managers. And I feel that, and I'm in touch with most of them, and I feel that many of those terms are interchangeable. There's a lot of overlap in what we do. Certainly, there are some distinct differences as well. But again, a lot of this is we perform roles and responsibilities similarly in all the towns that I am in touch with. I will say one notable distinction in New Canaan is the use of the term officer. While that is part of my official title, I am not authorized as an officer of the town. So that doesn't give me any specific authorities, typically that are associated with the term of officer. And the charter clearly states that the first selectman serves both as the CEO and the chief administrative officer. The first selectman does. Just wanted to point that out because that is one area that is certainly a distinction.
Should that be changed?
Cheryl has been doing that's a conversation I think you're going to hear from Cheryl on. We've talked about that a bit. I'm fairly neutral on it, quite honestly. Fortunately, I haven't been in a position where I've needed to perform any of those duties or that kind of a role in any kind of an emergency, but I think Cheryl can probably give you some more feedback on that when you see her. And then just, again, by way of background, just to explain sort of my primary role is to support the first selectman by providing administrative and management services. My job description is very clear that the administrative officer relieves the first selectman of many operational details, including the preparing and filing of all the minutes and scheduling for Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, Town Council. I'm the special events coordinator for the town. I oversee town hall operations. I support economic development initiatives. I oversee certain department heads as assigned. I respond to a lot of the public inquiries. I assist Mimi Pitt, and we manage all freedom of information requests that come through, and obviously handle any special and ongoing projects that might come about. The other assigned projects referenced in my job description are numerous, and some are one-time things and others are long-term projects, but it just depends on the needs of the town. I also serve as secretary to the Board of Selectmen, but I'm the administrative secretary to the Board of Finance and Town Council, which basically means that for the Board of Selectmen, I prepare the minutes and I sign the minutes. For the Board of Finance and the Town Council, I actually draft the minutes. Then I send them to the secretary of the Board of Finance, Town Council, who reviews them, sends back with any suggested edit. And then I will make sure things get submitted on time. I certainly schedule meetings, coordinate with staff.
Just hold up a second
Sure.
there on that minutes for Board of Selectmen and then the Town Council and Board of Finance. Is that codified somewhere? Is that in your job description?
My job
Is that-
description.
Okay, nowhere else.
No.
It's not, for instance, in the charter.
No,
I haven't
Right,
seen it
it's just
there, so,
basically my job
okay.
description.
It also sounds like you handle a lot of what we would call records.
Yes.
So how do you coordinate with them with the town clerk?
Well, no, so that's what I was just going to say. Not those kind, not like official records. We will share a lot of records, certainly, but we don't store any records up here other than, is your question to me, how in terms of the minutes and the votes and all that, how is that then?
Well, also you get the FOIA requests too, right?
Mhm.
Which are asking for official records.
And we always send a copy to the town clerk as well, but
Of the request or also of all the records?
the request can actually come into multiple sources. An FOI request can go to a specific department head, or it can come to the town. And if it comes straight to like, Mimi would usually receive it and then send it to whichever department needs to respond, or at least pull the information together.
I thought she pulled the information.
Well, she'll have to, oftentimes she'll send me an email and say, it just happened the other night when the Bylaws and Ordinances Committee met about the proposed leaf blower ordinance that they're talking about. The draft, they talked about the draft during the meeting, but they didn't have a copy of the draft. The press asked for a copy. Mimi emailed it to me. I pulled it off the tablets, gave it to Mimi, and it went out per the request.
But on the email, she actually does the scans, correct?
She will respond.
Because she has a program that does it.
Well, she can go back and search.
Right.
She has the ability, she has a program in her computer to go back and search all emails and that kind of thing. But she didn't have that particular document, and that's
Right.
just one example. She would need.
And
to
how
go
does
to
that
the
coordinate
source.
then with the town clerk being sort of keeper of the records about the state?
I would have to ask Mimi on that one.
Okay.
I don't know, because you're, like you said, she would be the one who receives them and then sends them out. But we do work together. She sends me every FOI request that she receives. Deanna and I, just so that we're aware of any of them that are coming
But
forward.
I'm more interested too in the triangulation with the clerk, because
Yep.
the clerk is the official record owner
Uh-huh.
of the.
I don't know.
Okay. Just following up. Okay.
Yep. Let's see. Additional responsibilities are, again, assisting the first selectman, in the various functions, of the town. I see certain departments. Here, what else? I serve on I'm a member of the Emergency Operations Center. I serve as the chair of TDAC. I am the acting public information officer for the town. So I coordinate communications and that kind of thing. And I do work closely with the finance department on budget development, but more on the scheduling of that whole piece of it. Like the document I just gave you, certainly the budget presentation schedule with all of the boards and commissions.
Sorry.
Yep,
pause.
sure.
So the public information officer, that's not in the chart?
No, that's just by our internal, that's,
Okay.
and
that's just
most
a-
towns have the person who's serving administrative officer, town manager, whatever they call it, is usually the public information officer.
Okay.
So, and I enjoy that. I've never had to be in an emergency and interface with the press like that. However, I do go to all the trainings with Russ. There are a lot of trainings that he signs us up for, and he and I both attend on that front.
So is that mostly related to emergencies?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Part of the emergency operations.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
However, to that end, when Kevin was first selectman, he started a once a week communications meeting that has transferred over, that Deanna maintains as well. And there are several of us that meet every Monday morning and do go over all the different things that need to be communicated to the public and how we're going to go about doing it.
I'm just curious because earlier you had mentioned I'm now the town officer, but then you said you're a public information officer.
Yeah,
and
I think that
wondered-
officer term is used,
Okay.
that the officer, as far as my role here with the town, is back to the authorization of certain duties. If Deanna were ever incapacitated, or
Right.
not here, that clearly now is stipulated that the town council chairman
Right.
is that
Right.
role if
Right.
that
Okay.
happens. Yep.
Okay.
So as far as sort of prepared remarks, I figured you would have questions beyond that. I will just add, I've been watching sort of your most commonly asked questions that you've been asking people. And I keep hearing this elected versus appointed conversation. Again, been a resident for 38 years, but also 5+ years as the administrative officer. And I firmly, firmly believe that the Board of Finance and in my opinion, and the Planning and Zoning Commission should remain appointed. And you've heard many arguments, which I would fully agree with, so I don't need to reiterate them, just did want you to know that I also agree.
I think you also filled in the input form.
I did, the
Yeah.
survey,
Mhm.
right, I did.
You're
Yep.
not allowed to call it a survey.
Oh, okay, the input form, I did, and thank you for that. And I hope, how are your numbers, are we getting?
60.
Okay, all right, so progress. Did that change? And I'd love anecdotally down the road to tell me if that changed, Deanna's newsletter. Well, that wouldn't have changed just today. Let us know. I mean, the newsletter went
We'll
out
see.
today
I'll let you know.
where she mentioned that.
Seems to
again.
go in peaks and valleys.
Yeah. Next week's a quiet week with school vacation, so I don't know if you're going to get a lot of attention then.
No.
Be interesting to see. On the flip side, I know you've also been talking about, the possibility of taking positions currently from elected to appointed. And I would just say that I think you all are doing enough research on that to see where we would fall out. I would say that that a change in terms of the overall interaction with the entire building. I know you've talked about what I've heard in the meetings. There's been 2 positions that have been talked about, town clerk and treasurer. I would say that however that discussion shakes out, I would like to see, and I don't know if this is necessarily a charter change, but more integration of those departments within the entire operation of the town. For example, we have monthly department head meetings, which is where all of us, we had one this morning, where all the department heads gather, and we literally go around the room one by one and share things that are happening within our specific departments. And the town clerk's department is never represented in that meeting, which is only problematic in that there's information that needs to get to staff from those meetings that we always need to translate in another way. So I think just in a sort of a better way of communication would be helpful.
Is the town clerk or invited?
She is. Yes.
Is the staff in the town clerk's, is there a town clerk department? Is that what it's called? The department,
Office.
the
Town
office
clerk's
of town
office, yeah.
clerk. And all of those folks within the office are town employees.
They are,
Okay.
right.
And if they ever had, say, a grievance or anything else about, so
They
their
would.
boss is the town clerk, not anybody else.
Correct, but they are, because they're employees, they would go to the HR department with anything that's related to a personnel, and they're hired and things like that through the town. But yes, they report to the town clerk.
Okay, so if there's ever, and for any appointed position, I just haven't thought about this, but
Mhm.
if there is, say, the town treasurer had people and the
Mm-hmm.
town clerk had people, and let's say that something came up, or maybe it didn't involve any HR issues, but
Mhm.
involved something else. What sort of oversight would there be where you can say, gee, this is shouldn't be done, or you've done something that shouldn't have been done? What oversight does the town have over the town clerk, as an example?
I think my understanding, in having this discussion over the years, is that I believe the answer to that is that the town clerk is an elected position and therefore does not have to, does not report to the first selectman or to therefore any of the rules within the building per se.
But when you talk about departments, you're talking about, for instance, Sarah Carey coming to the meeting,
Yep,
not Dan Radman.
right.
Okay, let's just be
Yeah.
clear there.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes, I'm sorry. You're right. That's a good
Right.
department manager.
Department
We call
manager,
it
so you
department
have-
managers meeting.
Kathleen Holland,
Yes,
right,
yes.
okay.
Employees.
Employees,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. They're all employees.
Yeah.
Right? There's no one in there that wouldn't be an employee.
Correct.
Chief of police is there.
The only one that
Fire. is
pops in
there.
is EMS captain from time to time, but
Mhm.
because they want to be appraised of what's going on, the situation.
And a lot of information is shared in those meetings that is very important. We all come prepared with things that we need to tell everybody, but it's a great meeting in that everybody can share things that are very relevant. And a lot of it is sort of emergency situations as well.
Lines of reporting have come up with fire commission as well, through whether the chief reports dual reports,
same
do they
with
not, do they
police.
go to the commission, same with police.
Yeah.
And the same applies, I guess, with a clerk being elected. Do you find that has generated issues or problems in the fact that they don't report or are not necessarily accountable or responsive to the CEO?
Yes. Yes. Problems that are not overcomable, problems that I think can be easily rectified. There just has to be a willingness on everybody's part to do that.
Right.
I think by and large, everybody in the building works really, really well together, but I think there are areas of deficiencies that need to be addressed. Again, not sure if it's necessarily a charter change, but it does relate back to the elected versus appointed.
Well, I think,
Conversation.
obviously, we're talking to the town clerk as well,
Mhm.
but I'm just more thinking about the staff underneath the town clerk. And so if the town clerk obviously has special skills,
Yes,
has to go through several, tests from
Yeah.
annually and so forth.
certifications and all of that. Yeah.
Do certifications, is that something that the town obviously considers very valuable, it's necessary? Are we also is the town looking to ensure that there's some continuity there, such that employees in that department also have the requisite skills? So God forbid something happened
Mhm.
and someone could step in and do that job, even if it's in an interim position.
I think that's a fabulous question that you should hold for your meeting with Cheryl,
Yeah.
because she has a lot more interaction with that, with the
Sure.
other staff
Okay.
members. So I think she could probably be better
Okay.
first in answering.
That just seems like a risk.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, there seems to be assistant town clerks too, so it seems like there's a hierarchy in the.
And we didn't have one for quite some time in
Right.
the office. And so there was, to that end, there was a period of time where we were sort of floundering, trying to get that, the staff.
Is there one
stabilized.
now? Is there an assistant town clerk now?
Assistant to the town clerk.
Is not an assistant town clerk.
It moved, it
Might be
started.
a different
as
definition.
Clerk and assistant town clerks.
Right.
Plural.
And then there, oh, it says plural. There's the assistant to the town clerk and assistant town clerk. Those are two different roles.
Yeah.
Let me just see if Cheryl, well, we've got time before,
We can ask her. at the
okay,
next
she'll,
one.
she can, she's been through this at,
Yeah.
great length, so she can answer that better than I can.
Okay.
Okay. And how about the town treasurer? Are you involved in any activities of the town
Scheduling,
treasurer?
whenever, the Board of Finance Chair will often ask, or Andrew will approach me and ask that he'd like to come and present, and it's more of just a, can you come on by? And, usually will send me a presentation that I can include in the minutes, and oftentimes when I write the minutes, I send them to Andrew, and I'm like, here's how I heard it. Does this sound like what you said? And he'll come back and say, or he'll write them and then send them to me and say, this makes sense. So, we work well together.
Are there any, sorry, just moving to the town manager definition. And you say you interact with other people with that title in
Mhm.
other towns and so forth. Are there any activities that a town manager would do that are beyond the scope of your responsibilities?
Oh, well, a town manager, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a professional, you've usually got certain public management, a degree in some sort in that, so I think so.
Don't they also like have signing authorities?
Mhm.
So what
Well-
happens is from my understanding, is that the selectman becomes more of a policymaker.
Yeah.
Whereas the town manager
Right.
has signing authority. So going back to what Anne said, they may be the other signature on a check,
Yes,
et cetera, along with the treasurer.
although I am on the council, I am a signatory on the.
Okay, but they
But
have
yes.
those sort of powers to do
Right.
fiduciary
Yeah.
actions as well.
A good comparable probably would be either COO or chief of staff. in a way.
Yeah, it is very much a chief of staff.
Your chief of
Right.
Yeah, chief of staff. I will say that,
Tucker, Bill, did you say you are a signature on the checking accounts?
I'm not a signer on the checks. I am, I can approve certain things on the, some of the Webster accounts and things like that when there's can't remember what the word is. There's certain transactions that happen every once in a while that I need to go in and also sign off on.
Okay.
Happens very
no
rarely,
problem.
but I am on that.
Yeah.
I'm
Tucker,
allowed
I'm
to.
going to, I interrupted for two reasons. One, just to ask that question, but the other one, I'm going to sign off in a couple of minutes, but I will look at the rest of your presentation or discussion on the video. And that was a great recap of all the great service you've done to the town. Thanks a lot. I've known
Oh,
you for a
thank
long
you, Bill.
time. Done a great job for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
Thanks, Bill.
Kathleen, I'm going to sign.
Um,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Bill. What happens just sort of on day to day with the other towns is we will, we'll send emails to each other once in a while. Hey, are you dealing, when Darien was taking over, the island, Great Island, they emailed me and said, we don't even know how to get our heads around the paperwork involved. And they knew we had put together the Waveney Park Conservancy. So they asked, would we be willing to share that with them, which I did. I recently went to Greenwich and asked them to share all of their gas leaf blower information that as they pulled that all together. So we work together in a collaborative nature like that. But again, we all have different roles, but that's just, we're all dealing with sort of the same things.
Right.
Okay, very good. I guess the one, two last things, term limits, did you comment on that?
Oh, what I did want to say on term limits was on Article, you probably looked at this, but I just want to make sure, Article 2,
Yeah.
C2-7. I think you do need to note in there, this is talking about term limits, and the exception to this is that the audit committee does in fact.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got that.
We got that one.
That was something that I flagged a while ago, and you're right on time, Alex. Well done.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure you had that. But term limits in general, I also definitely subscribe to a philosophy of if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of a thing. I've, again, lived in town for as long as I have and now worked here in this role. I think when I look at other towns, I think we really do things very, very well. So I'm kind of neutral on that one as well.
5-member Board of Selectmen, sorry.
No, you're
I didn't
good.
mean to-
I'm okay with the 3.
Yeah. It's my understanding, and correct me if I got this wrong, where other towns have 5-member boards of selectmen, they are an RTM process, i.e. a organization, they don't have a town council. Is that correct?
I believe
So,
that's
so under those circumstances, they'd be both legislative and operational.
right.
Okay.
I think the 3's been working fine. And we've had some hiccups here and there, but I think basically everything has worked well.
And then operationally, how people are appointed and are reviewed by the first selectman and then make it to the Board of Selectmen. Have you looked at any other processes that exist, say, in the town of Fairfield?
Yeah, I looked and
Yeah.
I saw how some of them have this appointing board. I think that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
Right now, I usually am CC'd on an email that goes to Deanna when one of the political parties is promoting someone for a position or recommending someone for a position. Again, I think the process has worked well, but I think it's interesting the way some of these other towns have taken
Greenwich, for instance, has an
Yes.
appointed board. Yeah.
sort of a nonpartisan.
Yeah.
Yeah, way to make sure that independents have a shot or get a
Or
fair hearing.
unaffiliated.
Sorry, independents. I keep doing
The
that.
unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated. Get a fair hearing.
And the good news is that, I mean, again, and that's why, and you all know this, that's why everything you do right now is going to last 10 years. 10 years ago, we didn't have as many unaffiliated
Right.
as we do now. So now we've got this new situation. And I think the good news is that, Deanna is getting more and more unaffiliateds who are reaching out by virtue of us putting it out there in communications and what have you, that we want your input. So.
My question was just macro level, because your position is unique in the fact that you touch every department, literally every single piece of town you're engaging with. Is there anything that you see in the charter that is an impediment or problem to operations, or equally there's a risk caused by issues in the language or the mechanics of it?
I would have been happy if we hadn't gone through this whole exercise and everything stayed the same. I thought the charter was basically, I understand there's dates and cleanup and things like that, but no, I don't see any glaring issues right now other than the ones that you all have already sort of looked at. Some of it I hadn't even considered prior to you all taking this on. So I don't see anything beyond what you're already, hot topics that you're already looking at.
Great. Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
You're up, Alex.
And I shall recuse myself and go sit over there. Because I'm a member of the fire company. He's representing the fire company.
Fine, you can sit wherever you like. Oh, actually, we can see your face better.
I'm gonna take this to Pam. If someone comes looking for her,
I'll tell them.
tell them and I'll just let her know and do a little lost and found kind of thing. Thank you.
So,
I'm Alex Snyder.
Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathleen. Pleasure to meet you. Alex, why don't you tell us something about yourself?
Sorry, I had a bunch of things going on. Let's see. So I'm Alex Snyder, resident of the town. I think I'm here today in my capacity as a volunteer firefighter, member of New Canaan Fire Company number 1. I have been a member for about 2.5 years. Love it. It's been one of the best things I've decided to do with my time. And I grew up in New Canaan, moved here in 1970 with my family, went to West School, Sachs when it was a junior high school, then the high school. And parents are still here in the house where I grew up. I came back to town around 2020. So that's a little background on me. By profession, I'm an attorney.
How do you balance that? Sorry, how do you balance, I'm more interested in the personal, how do you balance the volunteer fire responsibilities with being?
The most intense period was the 5 months of taking the class to become certified as an interior firefighter. So that was really where I had the most difficult time because it was committing every Saturday for about 5 months and then one evening a week. So that was where I had the greatest difficulty. With respect to now the ongoing responsibilities, that I've just been able to strike the balance with what the requirements are. I'm now the treasurer of the fire company and also on the board of trustees.
Super. You've moved right up. That's great.
So we've met with various members of the fire department, as well as obviously Russ, as you know, has been a participant as well. When we look at the charter in terms of the fire commission, there's been a lot of dialogue around certain things, just clarification of roles, responsibilities. Is there anything that stood out to you that you would like to sort of bring to our attention?
Yep, I read through it, and I had a couple of small thoughts.
Okay.
The first one is in section C8.2 on the appointment in terms of office.
Yep.
And in reading that, I found the language a little bit confusing with respect to the term of office. So if I may, as I read it, the selectmen shall annually, on or promptly after the first day of December, appoint one member of the fire commission who after qualification shall hold office for a term of 3 years. So they're doing the appointment annually, but for a 3-year term. So that seems inconsistent with how are you annually making an appointment to someone who then has a 3-year term?
So they have staggered terms. There's
They
three
have
mem-
staggered,
there's-
so,
There are 3 members of the commission, so they have 3 years each person. So every year, one person gets
Comes off or gets
gets
renewed.
renewed. Yeah.
Yeah.
so the person who is the volunteer has a 3-year term.
Mm-hmm. So there's supposed to always, from our understanding, be 2 people who are not volunteers,
Mhm.
and then 1 volunteer is,
In good.
as
standing.
long as there shall be a volunteer fire, one of the members of the commission
Yep.
shall be an inactive member in good standing of the volunteer. So the composition is always a volunteer person and then 2, I don't know, residents.
It could be all 3 volunteers, I mean, but there has to be at least one.
One,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, and the language seemed odd that they're being annually appointed,
But it's
but for a
yeah.
3-year term.
Yeah, it's annually appoint 1 member,
Yep,
okay, for 3 years. Second year, the next member for 3 years.
mhm,
The next year, the 3rd member for 3 years. So it's a staggered, so
right.
that the first selectman is always appointing 1 member for 3 years.
Mhm.
That's what the language is intended to say, is that
Mhm.
not? You're the.
As an attorney, that's
Yes.
not, because the language is then going specifically to the person who is the volunteer. That's what makes it confusing. If it was shall annually or promptly after the first day appoint 1 member of the fire commission, it's fine. Everyone's lived with it for 10 years. It's, but it jumped out at me as it's,
Yep, yep.
on one level, it's an oxymoron. Sometimes in a statute, we would see an actual reference to this is a staggered commission. You would actually see a reference to that to make that explicit.
It's quite a mouthful. I hear you. Any other areas?
So then the other just tied to that was really just some language on, making sure, and it is so appreciated that the town values the volunteer component so much. That is really appreciated. And so there was some language when it speaks generally after qualification,
Mhm.
and that's in like C8.2, who after qualification, where it's silent on what is the qualification.
Sorry, you're at C.
In C8.2, that sentence, they'll appoint 1 member of the fire commission to after qualification. And so what is qualification referring to?
Well, one, if you look back up to 8-1, are they electors of the town? That qualifies them.
And I would say it's 8.1 and 8.2.
Yeah.
But in drafting, to be precise, I would exactly say that qualification in accordance with C8.1 and C8.2. As opposed to someone then saying, well, there's this other qualification. There's a subjective qualification.
Right. I could see that. Yeah.
Now, I don't know, I did not go through the entire charter to check, boy, is that term qualification
Right.
often, used throughout without specific referrals to what constitutes the qualification. That may be, I didn't expand into looking at that. So that was something that jumped out at me.
Okay.
And then I think the last piece of it is that the fire company also, the volunteers want to make sure this person really satisfies being, that they are in good standing.
Our understanding was you guys have your own set of bylaws.
We do,
and
exactly.
Other things that.
Mhm.
sort
And
of
so-
As a sub-corporate, let's say corporation.
Right.
Yeah.
I would propose making an explicit reference to that.
Okay.
In
I
here.
could see that.
Um,
Do you have a term for your bylaws or what they're called?
yeah, it's a constitution and bylaws.
Okay.
And I took the liberty, I could give you some specific language if
Would
you
you
like.
send it to us?
Happy to send it.
Perfect.
Just let me know what email address to,
Send it back to me. I've been
Okay.
dialogue. I think I sent you an email.
yep, okay.
And,
perfect.
yeah, just send it back and I'll
Mhm.
send it to everybody. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good call out.
And then the one other, and I discussed this with Russ a little bit, is, and this is section B1
Oh, B1.
now, with respect to the OSHA regulations.
Oh,
8.4B1.
Yep.
Sorry,
No,
CA4 B1.
As to volunteer fire companies established in the town,
Mhm.
the commission shall ensure that the town provides volunteer firefighters as per occupational safety, health administration, OSHA regulations with required personnel protective equipment.
My understanding is we may actually be regulated by Connecticut OSHA rather than federal OSHA.
Okay.
And so to the extent we could say, or Connecticut OSHA regulations to the extent applicable.
Okay.
Is there a difference? So the first one as stated is the federal OSHA?
Correct.
I see.
So the Connecticut OSHA is based on federal OSHA, as are most states. But some states are OSHA permissive, some are OSHA required, and sometimes states may have some slight differences in what they do. And
It's like with the fire marshal piece, right?
yeah, I think so. And this would be simply to make sure the volunteers are getting the benefit of the best safety and protection.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Did you get that language, Jen?
I will email this.
Oh, love that. We'll love you for
Take it
that.
for
That'll
what
be
you will.
lovely. But I get what you're saying. Yep, makes sense. There does seem to be a lot of nuance in terms of fire management and fire regulation. It's the state, federal, state marshal, et cetera. Yeah, got it. Okay. Good call out. Is
So
that it?
those were the only specifics
Oh,
I had.
okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any others? So just take your opinion, but I think there are some people we've talked about initially debated going from 3 members of the fire commission to 5. You'll see in notes the chief was indifferent, but other people have like Jack and others would prefer to keep it 3. Do you have any thoughts?
I have only watched a handful of the meetings.
Okay.
Those meetings seem to operate effectively
Okay.
and efficiently. So I see no issue with having 3.
Okay.
That would be my perspective.
Okay. Sounds good. Great. And if you, we have spoken to Beth Jones
Okay, yep,
and Jack. We actually have those on video too, if you want to go see
Okay.
what they've also had to say.
all right.
They had some other suggestions, but felt pretty passionately and they're very passionate about the volunteer component and very passionate about advocating for it and making sure that it stays intact. And so, you know, you'll hear a lot of great kudos from all of us about you guys, what you guys do. So, and as I'm sure time goes on, you know, if there's any other suggestions that you think of, yeah.
Well, I think that as someone new and the way both Russ and then the other volunteers and then the way the career guys welcome, train, and encourage, it's just a really great welcoming environment for volunteers of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think
Glad to hear.
Jack Horner said that if there's any need for anything for the volunteers, he'd be the first to bang down the doors. I'm sort of paraphrasing, but it was close.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
super.
you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming in.
Appreciate
See you
it.
both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Really do.
Okay, call for adjournment.
Yes.
I make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Okay, thank
end our
you.
recording.
Very productive. Thank you.
No problem.